Shalom everybody, I am Bear with BearIndependent.com, and today we are doing the Bear Daily Brief for 26 March 2020. I would like to encourage you to please email us your intel at BearIndependent.com, intel at BearIndependent.com, intel at BearIndependent.com. I am very heartened by the number of contacts that we're getting and the quality of information that we're getting, and pleased to announce that we've extended and expanded our relationship with our Intel staff to continue to be able to do this with y'all and for y'all. But we need to remain partnered with you guys and girls to bring us the intel as you see it. So if you have actionable intel, please email us at intel@bearindependent.com. Thank you very much for being here. Honestly, you probably got more free time on your hands than you have had in a good long while, but still you could decide to spend it a lot of places, and the fact that you're here, I'm honored by it, so thank you very much. Let's get into the brief. Overview. The numbers that are being reported are not an accurate representation of the coronavirus cases. Many people are not permitted to get testing even when very ill. And even when tested positive, there have been cases that the county has delayed or failed to report. So the numbers that we're seeing are not accurate, and they're likely skewed downward, meaning that we're seeing reporting of numbers that is lower than actual cases. If someone gets very ill or even dies from the disease, it will not be counted if it is never tested. So that's very interesting data. As far as confirmed deaths are concerned, COVID-19 has killed more than 23,000 people worldwide, and at least 1,070 in the United States. In Spain, more than 650 people have died from the virus in a 24-hour period. In New York, the numbers for newly discovered infections have spiked again, this time by 21%. Come out of her, my people, unless you partake of her sins and receive of her plagues. Gosh dang, 37,258 cases as of the time of this reporting. For context, the U.S. has around 70,000 confirmed cases. Over, or roughly half, of the 75,000 confirmed cases, I misspoke. Roughly half of those cases are in New York. The estimated economic fallout for the state has been $10 to $15 billion in revenue lost so far. That's about $1.5 to $2 billion a day. The Senate, federal Senate, has unanimously passed the $2 trillion stimulus package economic rescue bill, which now goes to the House. It is expected to pass tomorrow morning. A record 3.28 million claims of unemployment have been filed in a single week. The previous record was 695,000 in 1982. The G20 global leaders have held a virtual summit to discuss a global action plan for dealing with the outbreak. You know, that statement doesn't make me very comfy. That makes me, I just pan to this guy over here. There's a lot of, well, let's call it what it is. Tree sperm flying around today. Some people call it pollen. There's a lot of it. And he had to shemag up because there's so much of it. The whole Agenda 21 thing, the idea that the G20 global leaders are going to get together and figure out how to solve this problem doesn't exactly make me warm and fuzzy. Speaking of warm though, I don't need this hat because there's no sunlight in my eyes. There we go. Away from me, wasp. Philadelphia has reported that it has seen a reduction in violent and property crimes, while shooting victims have increased by 22%. The BBC is reporting that, quote, Mexican protesters have shut a U.S. southern border crossing amid fears that untested American travelers will spread the coronavirus, end quote. That's what it takes. This does not affect trade or regular infrastructure. We posted a picture on Patreon with this report. The entirety of this report is available in text form at patreon.com. Just look for Bear Independent. Posted a picture there with this report of, in the Stillwell, Oklahoma area, gas at the gas pump at $1.26 a gallon. And then just outside of the Stillwell area, confirmed first-hand reporting of gasoline at 99 cents a gallon. Unfortunately, I've been saying since this thing started that the real issue with the coronavirus for most people is going to be economic, not physical or medical. Now, if you get infected with this thing, it's clearly going to be a medical issue. But even for those that aren't infected by it, the financial, the economic, the societal ramifications of this are growing by the day. You know, 3 weeks ago, this was not a big deal to me. Honestly, right now, the actuality of what we're living, you know, we're out of Oreos. We're out of Reese's Pieces. Barbecued chicken for lunch. It's pretty damn good. However, if this thing drags on and on and on, it could be terrible. It has the potentiality to be terrible. 2 or more eyewitness accounts. Red wine. Pinky up, I guess. Continuity of infrastructure and supply chain. Repeating and recurring issue. Essential business personnel, travel permissions, letters, placards, etc. to continue critical infrastructure operations and supply are now nearly everywhere. Letters from railways, United States Postal Service, United Parcel Service, UPS, FedEx, Amazon, manufacturing, automotive repair, groceries, food chains, hospitals, oil and gas, and many, 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 many more. Firearms and ammunition may or may not be considered essential infrastructure depending on your state, your local jurisdiction, where you live. Updated list under legal and political. Places seriously considering or already instituting essential services only travel restrictions, stay-at-home orders, shelter-in-place orders, or similar official proclamations. States: California, New York, Illinois. Better shut your face, rooster. What do we got today? What do we got today? Tell them, Yankee. What have they won? 230 grains of Spear Gold Dot Jacketed Hollow Point 45 Auto for the win. California, New York, Illinois, Ohio, Connecticut, Oregon, Louisiana, New Jersey, Indiana, Delaware, Michigan, Virginia, Wisconsin, Washington, New Mexico, West Virginia, Oklahoma, Colorado, Idaho, and Hawaii. 20 states. At-risk groups only. Georgia and Florida. Cities. Philly, which is good because the murder rate is up 22% in the last 8 days. Philly, St. Louis, Kansas City, New Orleans, and Birmingham. The number of counties issuing stay-at-home orders in spite of non-action from the state is growing. States with select counties under restriction: Georgia, Texas, Florida, North Carolina, Missouri, and Kansas. Scurry County, Texas has reported no cases but has issued a proactive shelter-in-place order. So if you live in Scurry County, Texas, I have no earthly idea where the hell that is. Texas is freaking gigantic. Massive. I heard a rumor one time, if you flip Texas up at the top of the panhandle, just pivoted it from this like this, it would touch Canada. Canada, where all them Canadians are from, you know. So that their Texas state is 1,081 miles wide. That's a lot of kilometers. I don't know how many kilometers that is, though. But basically, if you take 1,081 and multiply it by 2.5-ish, that's pretty much what you'll get. I think it's about 2.4, so it's a lot of miles. It's like 2,600 kilometers or something. This is tremendous. We need a second camera on you just for your responses right now. Many state governments are asking their residents to stay home, closing government buildings, etc. These requests are not orders per se, but most states have demonstrated that when not followed, requests do become orders, often by the urging of concerned citizens. After the first deaths in North Carolina, the governor said that additional state directives are coming to slow the virus spread. Currently, restrictions are only in place at the county level. However, it appears that the governor of North Carolina is going to start mandating restrictions across the state. So if you live within the confines of North Carolina and or happen to be part of my family and or happen to be one of my friends, maybe it's time to and or not be there. Love y'all. We got family everywhere. I hope that wasp attacks you. Nevada barred the congregating of more than 10 people and ordered every casino to close. LA has suspended at least 7 businesses that have defied similar orders. Sacramento, California. The governor directed the California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation, the CDCR, secretary to temporarily halt the intake and or transfer of inmates and youth into the state's 35 prisons and 4 youth correctional facilities. Those inmates and youth will remain in county custody for the next 30 days. This period can be extended if needed. In Rhode Island, due to a jump of cases, the governor mandated that anyone traveling to Rhode Island from New York by land or air must self-quarantine for 2 weeks upon arrival, effective immediately. To help enforce the new mandate, the Rhode Island National Guard will take post at bus and train stations to collect information from New York travelers. And the Rhode Island State Police are expected to stop cars with New York license plates coming into the state on the highway to track travel plans. I would guess that if things continue to get bad, if you see a similar number of saturation of cases like what we're seeing in New York, this is conjecture only from Bear. This is my opinion. If we see a similar level of saturation of cases elsewhere, that this type of draconian enforcement will happen elsewhere as well. They're just trying to stop the transmission of this disease. There's a lot to be said for this disease is really, really deadly. It's not all that deadly. It's just the flu. It's not just the flu. It's SARS. It's not SARS. It matters less for all of those of us who are not infected by this thing. It matters less what the actuality of it is, and it matters more what the perception is. If it's actually this bad and they're willing to go this far, we need to treat it as if it is this bad. And I don't like that even a little bit. Even a little bit. The Texas governor authorized restaurants to sell bulk retail product from distributors to the public. Under the heading of military, many continue to note unusual military activity, as is to be expected at this time. Under medical, many have talked about the possibility of coronavirus being slowed by warm and or humid weather. An abstract put out by MIT researchers suggests that the role of environmental factors in reducing the spread of COVID-19 could be limited across most of Northern Europe and North America in the coming months. Quote, our conclusions are based on currently available data with several unknowns, including how the virus is mutating and evolving, case fertility ratio, reproductive numbers, and direct versus indirect transmissions. Our results in no way suggest that 2019 nCoV, the 2019 coronavirus, would not spread. Let me repeat. Our results in no way suggest that coronavirus would not spread in warm, humid regions. Our results in no way suggest that this will not spread. So 2 negatives make a positive in literature, okay? Our results suggest that this will spread. Maybe. Well, that's not accurate there, Barrett. What they're saying is there's no indication that this thing won't spread if it finds itself in a warm, humid environment. And effective public health interventions should be implemented across the world to slow down the transmission of 2019 nCoV. I did hear that an Australian study showed that sunlight kills COVID-19, much like it kills SARS, much like it kills the regular flu, all viruses, that exposure to UV, including sunlight, will kill it. So that's pretty cool. We still maintain the same policy of boxes in our driveway. When the delivery truck comes, we just offload them into the driveway, spray them down with straight bleach, and let them sit there a while. And that's what we're doing right now. It's making the driveway look really interesting. It's pretty cool. The plus side is we live out here, so I'm not really worried about my neighbors coming over to take the stuff out of my driveway. So, no biggie. Societal in general. In some of the first places to be hit, the initial wave of public panic is now mostly subsiding. Besides business and event closures, most of the society seems to have returned to a pseudo-normal state. Traffic is only slightly reduced and people continue to shop for their needs at big box stores. Milk, bread, toilet paper, and some basic prepper food items are still low, but stores seem to be better stocked now in general. Many have observed that people do not seem to be complying with the stay-at-home order. I'll agree with that. This lighting's terrible, but it's okay. It's also 90 degrees out here in May. I'm sorry, in March. January, February, March. In March, it's 90 degrees today. Fabulous. In Michigan, the current state administration is encouraging people to report their employers for violating the essential businesses only rule. Repeat, in Michigan, the current state administration is encouraging people to report their employers for violating the essential business only rule. Violators can be punished by a misdemeanor, a $500 fine, and up to 90 days in jail. I was talking with a client about this. I said, you can bet that in a few years from now, there will be a class action lawsuit. Did your employer force you to work during the COVID-19 scare of 2020? Call smithandjones.com for the blah, blah, blah. It's something that we honestly need to think about as employers. What is the liability? What is the risk of exposure here? And who's going to end up holding the bag for that? Well, luckily, Michigan, they're very liberty-minded in Michigan. In this state, travel permits for work can be oral currently, but must be in writing by 31 March 2020 at 11:59 p.m. Many schools are extending their closures or canceling physical classes and events for the remainder of the school year, including the state of Oklahoma. We have now been canceled for ever, question mark, at least for the remainder of the year, with no idea when we are going to return to school. Rationing in stores in many areas nationwide. Allowances in scope vary. In Michigan, again, for example, a 2 items per commodity limit is in place at Kroger. It includes but is not limited to meat, milks, eggs, bread, water, and select paper products. Rationing for ammunition and firearm sales is also occurring in some areas. Natural disasters. Repeat reminder, tornado season is coming May through June, wildfire season June through August, and hurricane season June through November. If a natural disaster occurs in your area during the health crisis, emergency and citizen responses will be very different. Prepare accordingly. And there's some really simple things you can do. Have a first aid kit in your house, know how to use it. Have a fire extinguisher in your house, know how to use it. Have an idea of, if we have to evacuate, bug out at a moment's notice, what are we grabbing, where are we going? really, really basic preparedness stuff. Highly recommended that you do it. As a note, we're trying to find out if it's possible for us with our partnership with Sojourn Gear, SEWJOURN, sojourngear.com. The gentleman that hand makes all of our first aid pouches for our IFAKs or blowout kits. We're looking into seeing if it is possible for us to make masks, cloth masks. And if so, what is our turnaround? What is our price point? We're looking into that. It's not guaranteed yet, but we're looking into that. Not only for civilian use, but also for medical professionals, the type of things that could be disinfected and reused repeatedly over and over and over again. And so I will keep y'all updated on that. Cody at Sojourn Gear makes the best freaking gear. Made in America, made by hand, guaranteed forever. The vast majority of his stuff is custom. He does, specific pouches for us and for a handful of other organizations, but almost everything else he does is, hey, I need a custom plate carrier. I want a minimalist chest rig. I've got 6 bad vertebrae in my back. I need lots of extra padding in my rucksack. Can you make me one? I need knee pads. I like this parka. Can you make me one? Like, he's awesome. Awesome. A real fine American. So we are trying to figure out with our partnership with Sojourn Gear whether or not we can make masks, and if so, how we go about doing that. And so honestly, if you could keep us in prayer over that, hey, figure out a way to make that happen, I would really appreciate it. Okay, we're going to move on to just a little bit on what's in the single accounts and insider intel. Again, the entirety of this report is available on Patreon. Just go to Patreon, look for bearindependent.com. If you're interested in this particular report or any of the other ones, all of the text is there. We also, that's not a, hey, give me $1 or more a month because you like me platform. We do a lot of exclusive content. I've done 3 posts today on Patreon and typically do a minimum of 1 post per day over there in addition to everything we do at YouTube. So we have lots of free value packed stuff here on YouTube, including this brief. And then if you want to go deeper than what we do here on YouTube, you can come see us on Patreon. And to our patrons, thank you, men and women. You guys are freaking awesome. You are the economic engine of the Bear Nation. We could not and would not do this without you. So thank you for supporting us in these endeavors. It means the world to me. Also, I noticed, as a brief aside, y'all have been killing it at the web store at bearindependent.com. I don't know if you guys are just bored, got lots of free time on your hand or what, but the orders that have been coming in have been freaking wonderful. And so thank you very much for just killing it at the goods and gear tab at Bear Independent. It humbles me. So I really appreciate it. All right, single hand accounts and insider intel. In the medical field, hospitals have seen a reduction in volume due to people avoiding the hospital for fear of illness. This is a good thing. Can't see that number. 808 people, 190 thumbs up. Shalom, y'all. We can do better than that, but I appreciate that. And honestly, these are the type of things I hope you would share with people you love and care about, because there's no agenda here. I'm just trying to convey information as I understand it. The Michigan VA hospital. What is up with Michigan today? Gosh, Michigan and VA. So this is going to be phenomenal. Like, just Bohica. For those of y'all in the know, Bohica. Bend over, because here it comes again. Michigan VA hospital has discharged or moved all current patients and converted their department to acute critical care with no additional training, equipment, or staff. Repeat, discharged or moved all current patients and converted their department to acute critical care without any additional training, equipment, or staff. Forced a nurse to treat a suspected COVID-19 case with no PPE because the person who had access to the locked PPE storage locker couldn't be located. Published guidance that if you are infected at work or otherwise and turned away or sent home, if you cannot find someone to cover your shift, you will be considered AWOL. for not coming to work after being exposed to COVID-19. You're now AWOL. Yay, government! Insider intel. Internal conference call with the president of HCA Healthcare, a large healthcare company operating in 21 states, revealed that currently at 60% ICU utilization and 30% respirator utilization. This is troubling since they do not believe we are anywhere near the ceiling of demand. Currently, 60% ICU utilization and 30% respirator utilization, and we are not anywhere near peak demand. They are expanding their telemedicine capability, but increased demand is outpacing their expansion efforts. They can't keep up. They are attempting to hold funds, extended vendor payment terms to 45 days to prevent running out of money during expansions and new project stand-ups. They are rationing PPE, using that PPE for extended use and reprocessing or reusing to address shortages. The government surplus relief has not been expected to be available for a minimum of 3 weeks. They are piloting a program in San Antonio, Texas to sanitize used masks with UV light beds and H2O2 treatment. I hope that works. I really do. Because if that works, that means that we could do something with sojourn gear, that there is a way to treat them, that it does become reusable, that we're not just disposing of these things. I really do hope that works. And donations are appreciated, like of PPE. People are donating their PPE, their personal protective equipment, their masks, their booties, their gowns, their bonnets, their whatever. The problem is that HCA Healthcare doesn't have a system in place in their system to add these donations to their inventory. So they have them, but they can't distribute them because they're not in the inventory, because yay, bean counters. Deep breaths, Bear, deep breaths. Societal in general. In North Carolina, ammo and food is becoming less of an issue, though still low with some rationing continuing. In Wyoming, plexiglass barriers have been implemented at some grocery stores in Cheyenne, and some stores are refusing to take cash. There's a lot of movement in the cashless society area these days. Are we living in the end times? Are we not living in end times? And maybe it's normalcy bias, but it's really hard for me to be like, yeah, we're in end times. And it's like, well, what's your biggest problem here in these end times? We're out of Reese's, bro. That's the biggest issue that I have right now. And it's not even an issue. It's a nothing. And it's like, yeah, but this could be the build up to something much worse than being out of Reese's. But I'm willing to admit that it's maybe just my normalcy bias. And honestly, doing my damnedest to remain positive in all of this. Because I don't want to fearmonger. I don't want to doomer porn. I just want to report this intel to the best of our ability without flavoring it as 12 reasons why the zombies are going to show up at your house and rape your kids and eat your dog. It's like, how about no? How about a whole bunch of reasons why that won't happen? We call them FMJ and BTHP and JHP. Yeah, we got lots of reasons why that won't happen here. I don't want to do that. I really, really don't want to do that, and I'm doing my damnedest to not do that and to remain positive, because our Creator is still in control of this entire mess as per His will. Why? I have no idea. But it's not my job to understand the why. It's certainly not my job to understand the how. It's just simply to show up and do the things He has convicted me to do, this broadcast being one of them. In Montana, the governor is expected to issue a 14-day statewide order sometime in the next week. Miscellaneous. Pinky up. Society seems to be adjusting psychologically to a new normal across the board. Stay-at-home orders are no longer shocking. People are either prepared or continuing their semi-regular shopping as they can. International. In Bosnia, students are using 3D printers to manufacture PPE for medical workers. In Jordan, after attempting to implement one of the world's strictest restrictions so far, a total curfew, the country has now eased its restrictions due to the chaos that ensued. Days after it went into effect, the emergency hotline went offline after being overloaded with calls. People were clamoring to receive bread distributions from government trucks, and some reported they had nothing at all to eat at home. Actionable. Again, support your local hospital workers and first responders however you can. Whether it's practical support with homemade or stored PPE donations, or emotional support with a willing and sympathetic ear, or spiritual support, pray for them, lift them up. From an experienced ER worker, quote, "We feel your love and desperately need it," end quote. Next item. Be aware that there is a huge influx of scams. Netflix account issues, stimulus benefits, fake COVID-19 testing, etc. And now for our silver linings. Yeah, these are crosses. That's Messiah right there. Right there. Right there. Silver linings. Yesterday, one viewer's employer had 50 spare N95 masks that they would normally use in their mining operations that they boxed up and placed outside a local hospital for pickup. Around the world, people are getting creative. Therapy dogs go window to window to visit patients through the glass. People perform music and take calisthenics classes from balconies. Praise the Father. 2 viewers are loving remote work and hope it continues even after the alarm has subsided. Projects are finally getting done, including remodeling. Many are now practicing preparedness, likely for the long term. The attitude towards preppers may have just gotten more positive, especially with the sharing of both advice and practical aid during these hard times. One viewer has noted a significant drop in telemarketing calls during this outbreak. You know what I've not gotten a lot of lately? Emails that sound something to the effect of, "Hello, good sir. Pleased to you for make fine review of knife for make good bushcraft. We are to send for you make knife with the box from Asia, and you are for make video with the 5 stars to tell your people how good the knife is for bushcraft. And we are to pay you X number of dollars for review that is nice with knife!" Exclamation point. Praise the Father. Like none of those have come in the last few weeks. So that's nice. Maybe because all that stuff was made in Wuhan, which is even nicer. People are blessed by these reports and this channel and are now taking Bear's advice for MAG's mutual assistance groups. Amen. Bless y'all. And thank you, Intel staff, for putting that in there. Even people with small balcony and patio spaces are making use of that space for growing food. And a statistic that I mentioned yesterday on a different broadcast. One viewer did the math. If every one of y'all put up one bucket of food, one, because of this channel, just one person would have enough food to last them 2,993.83 years. That's awesome. And I know there are many of you with tons, with hundreds. And it's not because I'm awesome, it's because the Father is awesome. I love that stat though. We're pushing 3,000 years of food if everybody in the Bear Nation just put up one bucket. We need to keep working on that. Let's briefly account for what we did today. We started our day with feeding the livestock, our sheep and our goat and our laying hens and our meat birds. some of which are back here running around in the background all the time. I hoed a row in this garden to plant the cucumbers that my wife started a few weeks ago. We went next door and helped a brother fence in his garden and hoe some rows in that garden, which I believe he has already gotten planted. Excuse me. I shot a Patreon video and uploaded it talking about sustain and improve and not getting overwhelmed during this time, and how we have decided that we are going to sustain everything that we have and improve one thing a day so that we don't get overwhelmed, so that we don't overdo it, and that everything that we are doing is stuff that we would have been doing in the springtime anyway. It just got a lot more real now because of this COVID-19 thing. We received a load of new sheep, 6 ewes and 2 young rams. Cooked lunch, made barbecued chicken and Alfredo noodles and some green beans for lunch, and fed that to our friends in the area. Loaded up some brothers who came to visit with a truckload worth of stuff. Stuff that we had in inventory that could be a blessing to them, and we were happy to do it. Studied my Ham Radio for Dummies book, which, if that book is written for dummies, I can only count to potato. Holy cow, like that book is ridiculous. And I like how the first paragraph is, there are ham radio operators all around the world, ranging in ages from 6 years old to over 100 years old. And my first thought is, there's a 6-year-old out there that is way smarter than I am, because this S does not compute. We relaxed this afternoon, and we ate homemade chocolate chip cookies from scratch, not out of a package, from scratch, that my 13-year-old made, and homemade dill pickles that my wife made last year. We suffered from allergies and almost died in the 90-degree heat, because it's 90 degrees today, and a couple of days ago it was in the 60s. That's what we did today, in addition to this report. So I would encourage y'all to please email us your intel. Intel@bearindependent.com. 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 Please reach out to us, and thank you to everybody for reaching out, and thank you to the Intel staff for putting this together. You boys and girls are freaking phenomenal, and I'm thankful for you. I really, really, really am thankful for you. If you want the entirety of this report, it's available on Patreon. $1 or more per month, you can come see us on Patreon. I'm tired of apologizing for it. We provide a minimum of 24 exclusive pieces of content per month on Patreon, in addition to all the free content that we produce for YouTube. So we bring even more value on Patreon. The giveaway on Patreon this month is going to be a handful of things, including an EMP shield and a bare minimum for the $5 and up patrons. My wife is grinning at me. She's like, you gonna tell me this S not on a live stream or what? It'll be okay, babe. It'll be okay. In addition to everything that we do here, that we do for free on YouTube, we have a lot of value-added content on Patreon. And again, patrons, thank you. Thank you. Especially in the economic environment that we are in today's day and age. Thank you. I mean, we would not do this if it was not for y'all supporting us. And we could not do this if it was not for y'all supporting us. Please be sure to check out the Bear Independent web store. That's another way, if you're not comfortable with Patreon, that you can support us. We have stickers, patches, IFACs, t-shirts, thumb drives, seeds. A lot of people are like, yo, where do I get my seeds at? We've got seeds. And many, many more things at the web store at bearindependent.com. Just click the goods and gear tab. There's a raffle for that knife that we're giving away. That bushcraft knife is coming up next Tactical Tuesday, 31 March. You can get your tickets There's only a few left, and there's only a few more days before the end of that raffle, and all that money goes to charity. So if you're wanting a badass bushcraft knife, check it out. And that's the brief, boys and girls. Thank you so much. Let's talk to our creator. Father Yah, thank you for being sovereign over all things. Thank you that in the end of the world as we know it, our problems are minor. Thank you for perspective, and thank you for understanding. Father, I pray that you would just be indwelt in us, that you would remind us who it is that drives the bus, who we work for and why, that you would make it clear to us what we are supposed to do, and that you would equip and empower us to do it. Father, thank you for redemption and restoration through Yeshua Messiah. Father, thank you for everybody within the sound of my voice, and I pray that you would just continue to be sovereign over all things, including this mess that we've made here on earth. Father, we love you and we praise you, and we ask your blessing on all we do in Yeshua's name. Amen. Bless y'all. Have a wonderful evening. Shalom.